now going to talk to you about alcohol and safety abroad and HWS policies, the law, and basically your well-being when you go abroad. If you're studying abroad in the Middle East, in North Africa, or a Muslim country, we have talked to you separately about expectations regarding alcohol, and you may be asked to refrain entirely or to drink alcohol only under certain limited conditions and certain locations. But for students going to pretty much any other location, you will be pleased, perhaps, to find that the rules and the norms are actually much less restrictive than they are here in your own country. The drinking age in virtually all the places where we send students abroad is lower than the drinking age here, and therefore if you're in a country where you are legally able to consume alcohol, you would not be violating HWS policies or your program policy if you choose to drink abroad. So that's the good news. The bad news is sometimes students use that as an invitation to do things that they know that they shouldn't be doing. So first and foremost, if you're going to drink, be responsible, be safe, know your limits, stop before you hit your limits. One very important thing to know, because students often are surprised to encounter this, is that the alcohol content typically in most beer, particularly if you drink beer, made by foreign countries, is higher than the alcohol content per volume in the United States for most beer. So 1 will hit you like 2. 2 is 4. 4 is 8. You want to drink less. You want to give time after you've had a drink for your body to metabolize it before you decide to have another. Only have another if you need another. Don't drink by the numbers. If I usually go out for an hour, I'd have 3, and boom, it hits you like 6, and you're already wasted by the time you realize that you've had more than you should. So drink responsibly, understand that the alcohol content abroad may be different, and moderate yourself. Understand also that people drink in different locations abroad often than they do in the United States. So here, if you go out and consume alcohol, likely you'll be doing it at a fraternity party, at a private party at someone's home, or perhaps at a club or a bar. That may also be true abroad, but you're also likely to be drinking, for instance, in the UK, Australia, with your faculty in a lounge near their classroom. Or you may be going to a pub or a restaurant that is frequented not only by other students and other young people, but by middle-aged professionals, older people, grandparents, or working people who are bringing their young children with them to the club. So you want to drink keeping in mind that you are working with a mixed age crowd and that your behavior has to be appropriate for that kind of a setting. You don't want to embarrass yourself. You don't want to embarrass HWS. You don't want to give American students a black eye. That's really important that you keep the context of where you're drinking involved. We want you to also be aware of safety. If you are drinking too much and you realize that you've had too much, keep in mind that you are not going to be walking home along South Main Street in Geneva. Okay, you will be walking home or maybe taking a metro home or a bus in a big crowded city that has all kinds of lovely people, but also its share of criminals and predators, as any big city anywhere might have. And so if you realize that you've had too much, sober up before you leave the bar. Use the buddy system. If you came with a friend, use it. Call a cab. Don't try to go out on the street and walk around going, "Hi." It's like wearing a sign saying, "Please rob me." People will, unfortunately. So you need to be safe, you need to be thoughtful, you need to stop before you exceed your limit. If you realize you have exceeded your limit, you need to take protective steps. Sober up before you go outside, call a cab, call a friend, make good choices about how you go out in public and on the street. We also want you to be aware that other kinds of behavior, alcohol is sometimes seen as an invitation to people for taking advantage of you in other ways. Unfortunately, there's often a double standard abroad about men drinking versus women drinking. So if you're a young woman and you're drinking and you are visibly drunk, people may perceive that you are also sexually available. We'll talk about that more when we talk about sexuality and Title IX. But you may be giving out signals that you do not intend, simply because in that cultural context, the typical young woman in that country might not permit herself to be seen visually as of impaired. So you may be sending signals that you don't intend to do.